So this work was done in collaboration with Mohammed, Jeremy and Constantina. We were all in Telefonica back then, and its focus is on the study of Android alarm usage for application shadowing. One of the major concerns in mobile devices is actually its battery capacity. The battery of mobile devices tends to last 1 to 2 days, and it also tends to decrease over time with the installation of applications. So what exactly are the main culprits behind this energy consumption? So the main culprits are actually the screen and the radio, although there are other components like CPU, graphics and sensors that actually consume lots of energy as well. But the screen, the important thing is that the screen, it's something that only consumes energy when it's in interactive use, when you are actually interacting with the device. While the radio, it can also happen while in background. So applications can actually go and retrieve new data while you're not using the phone, right? So here in this graph, it actually plots the average power of the components of the mobile device while the device is in idle. It just depicts what we just said. There was a study as well regarding how much background use there is actually in mobile devices. And what it's shown is that for a couple of quite popular applications like Facebook, Skype, Twitter, applications that actually require some sort of online presence, these applications tend to run in background 70 to 80% of the time. This is a quite significant amount of time, right? And we note that applications nowadays, free applications, 90% of them actually require internet. They have this permission defined in the manifest, so it's, although they might not require to have some online presence, they actually use internet quite often. Another finding of this paper was that depending on the network in which you execute your applications, this can drain the battery up to 9 times faster. And this is basically due to the fact that different networks tend to negotiate their resources in different manners, the allocation of channels of communication, and these might have different impacts on the consumption of the energy by the data usage of applications. So how exactly do you schedule tasks to run in the background in Android? So there are multiple ways to schedule tasks in Android, like synchronous tasks, you have background services, you have timers. But if you want your application to run tasks in a timely manner while being still able to wake up the device, then you should use alarms. Alarms come in 2 different flavors. You can define them to be exact or inexact. Exact alarms are alarms that have strict requirements regarding when they should execute, like every 1 hour, while inexact alarms can actually be delayed a couple of minutes or seconds. The important thing here is that the behavior of the alarms is actually defined by the applications. So applications can define the deferrability of the alarm, the trigger time, and the actual intervals in between the alarms. Since Android KitKat, Google actually introduced the capability to batch alarms together, in the sense that if you have multiple applications that were supposed to wake up in a similar time span, Android will try to wake them up at the same time. This reduces the number of wake-ups that your mobile device performs, but it actually indirectly ends up saving the energy that is associated with data. And why is this? Because generally, data, you negotiate the allocation of a channel for communication. It's done with the radio resource controllers, right? And if the applications actually generate the traffic together, most likely you will make use of the same communication channel, and you will end up losing more time in this tail time of the radio resource controller and save energy as a result. Alarms also have the benefits over previous traffic shaping research, because previous traffic shaping research actually focused on data from cell towers and on simulations, and they didn't have into account app protocol interactions, they didn't take into account OS integration, and applications in such cases, if you try to batch their traffic together without having this kind of interaction, they tend to do retransmissions, as is the case of Skype, which was shown by Vergara. Another interesting thing about the alarms is that they have been the focus of most of the research innovations in the two Google I/O conferences with projects like Project Volta and Project DOS, if you want to check them up. Finally, if we want to actually define alarms in Android, there are multiple APIs. If you look at it, you have the set repeating, set inexact repeating, set exact. So in the third and the fourth line, you actually see that you can define them as inexact or exact. But regarding the first two, semantically, they don't really tell you how they are expected to behave, right? And as you can see, I divided the table in two columns, and these two columns refer to this thing called SDK. What exactly is this SDK in these columns? It's basically the target SDK of the application. It's defined by the application developers. But what is actually exactly is this target SDK? Basically, it's a number that you define when you create a project. You might easily overlook it. You might even just set it once and never look at it again, right? But basically what it tells you is which Android platform your application will be built against. So basically, if you run your application in a different Android version, it will pretty much trigger compatibility modes so that it will try to mimic the behavior of the Android platform that you targeted, okay? But the important thing here is that lots of research and lots of news have talked about hardware fragmentation. They have talked about the fragmentation in the distribution of Android versions in actual devices. But here we have a clear indication of API fragmentation, in the sense that if you look, if you try to set an alarm and you use the set API, right? The exact same line of code, depending on the target SDK that you actually set, can have different behaviors. So the same API can actually be an exact alarm in the sense that it will run at specific points in time. It cannot be batched and it will waste more energy, or it can behave as an inexact alarm, depending on your target SDK. So target SDK below or higher than 19, exact. Target SDK higher or equal to 19, inexact for the case of the set and the set repeating. Other APIs have been introduced by Google. For example, job info APIs were introduced 6 months prior to our study, but unfortunately, none of the applications were still using it in our data set. Android 6, the Marshmallow that was introduced a few months back, has 3 new APIs. If we have time in the end, we can go through them as they were done after our study. So we already seen that alarms actually define how applications will run in the background. This can have an impact on energy consumption. And we have seen also that there is API fragmentation depending on these target SDKs. So the first question is, how outdated are these target SDKs by applications, right? Then we will look at how widespread is this alarm usage, if it's something that is related only to applications with online presence or social applications, for example. How these applications are actually defining their alarms, if they are defining the alarms to be exact, inexact. How these alarms actually impact a running device in terms of wake-ups. And finally, we will try to come up with some ideas to improve the alarm usage. So in order to build our data set, we actually built a Google Play Store crawler. We downloaded over 500 applications per app category. These were free applications, the most popular free applications, and our data set consists of over 22,000 unique applications for May 2015. The interesting fact about this number of applications is that according to the Playdrone paper, they actually represent over 80% of the total downloads of the Google Play Store. We picked popular applications because they are most likely representative of what users actually have on their mobile devices, but they are actually probably more optimized for energy consumption or for profit, who knows. So for each one of the applications of our data set, we actually performed static analysis. We retrieved the alarm API usages, annotations, package names, target SDKs. We have more information, but this is mostly what we used for this study. So first question, how outdated are these target SDKs? So here we actually plotted the percentage of applications targeting each one of the SDKs with the SDK number in the x-axis and the date of release, okay? So if you look at it, SDK 19, which is Android KitKat, is actually the most targeted one. And if you aggregate all the values to the left, it basically shows that the majority of applications actually target SDKs that are older than 18 months, while close to half of the applications are actually lagging behind by more than 21 months. So as we've seen, these target SDKs have an impact on the energy of the device, and having applications targeting so old SDKs can have a negative impact, right? So how widespread is this alarm usage? So interestingly, we've seen that close to half of the applications are actually using alarms. The categories with the most alarms had some surprises, like wallpapers. We can speculate that maybe wallpapers are downloading a new image to put on the background of your device now and then in background. We don't really know. But all the categories had a high number of alarms. Regarding exact alarms, we've seen curiously that there are 2 game categories that are actually in the top applications with exact alarms. This means that they will actually wake up the device and they cannot be batched together. Since they are games, we don't really see why they would require such strict requirements. And we have also seen applications defining up to 70 alarms, which is a ridiculously high number, right? So alarm is it's spread across applications. It has big use, and it actually impacts your device. So as we've seen that the alarms are so spread across categories, we actually thought, well, maybe applications are not really using alarms. Maybe it's a byproduct of them using third-party libraries. But since we cannot actually know all the third-party libraries, we picked a subset that is the easiest to get, right? Ads and Analytics, and it's quite popular across applications. So we went to WebBrain, we downloaded the list of most popular Ads and Analytics libraries. We checked their potential package names, and for each one of our alarm definitions, we went and checked if they occurred within one of these packages. And here in this plot, we show the number of unique applications per each one of the Ads and Analytics packages. And the takeaway here is that 10% of all alarms that we found are actually defined within these libraries. So although we only looked at Ads and Analytics, this is already a good indication that some of these applications might not require alarms at all. It's a byproduct of having third-party libraries. And 22% of these APIs were actually exact. So how are applications using these alarms? So here for this experiment, we divided the applications into groups. Applications that target SDK below 19, which basically disables alarm batching by the operating system, and applications with SDK higher or equal to 19. And as expected, basically the exact alarms for the group in the left represent 44% of the applications, while on the other side, you actually have only 2.31% of the applications are using exact alarms. And why is this? Might it be that the applications with the higher SDKs are more updated? We have seen that it's not really the case. We will address it in the next slide. Our idea is that this might be just a byproduct of applications actually targeting an SDK. Either they changed it. It doesn't really mean that they are aware of the differences in the case of alarms, right? Another thing is that since we see that applications that actually moved for targets higher than 19 only use 2% of exact alarms, only 2% of applications are actually using exact alarms, it again raises the question if exact alarms are actually needed at all, right? It might be the case that these 2% are just misusing them. So this is a very open question in Android as well. Is Google being too conservative by maintaining backwards compatibility when we see that clearly not that much applications are using exact alarms, and because they can target a different SDK, they can actually be behaving badly and wasting your energy as a result. Another interesting fact is that around 30% of all alarms were repeating, meaning that they will keep on executing on your device. Regarding the question if the applications with low SDKs are actually outdated, here is an example of a few applications like LinkedIn, Angry Birds, Clean Master, Shazam, Instagram. These applications target quite old SDKs. They have rather high number of downloads and they are quite updated. The first one is La Caixa, you might not know, but it's one of the major banks in Spain. Finally, we will see how alarms actually impact a running device, how many times they wake up the device. For this experiment, we picked 2 data sets. We will describe them in the next slide. We flashed the device with a new ROM so that it's clean. We ran each one of the applications once so that we initialize them. We let them on for 30 minutes in case they need to update or something. We reboot the phone, let it go idle, wait another 30 minutes for it to stabilize, and then we record the alarm definitions and wake-ups. We use an Android with KitKat because it already allows alarm batching, which is still dependent on the target SDK of the application, right? And the 2 data sets, the first one consisted of the 30 most popular applications, with applications with between 1,000 to 500 million downloads. And the second data set consisted of the 30 applications with the most set repeating alarms and SDK below 19. Why? Because the set repeating could potentially be batched or even deferred or not executed at all if the target SDK was not below 19. Okay? So our results show that for the first data set, actually 261 alarms were registered. Only 20% of them woke the device. While for the second data set, there were 1,041 alarms registered, and there was a high percentage of alarms actually waking up the device, over 61%, or 61%, sorry. Regarding some examples of careless alarm usage, while these first 2, Norton Security and Norton Antivirus, were not the worst performers, they are quite popular. They have a very big amount of downloads. But they target a quite old SDK, and they woke up the device 141 times in a 3-hour period. It's a rather high number of wake-ups. Spora, it's an interesting messaging application. It actually has a significant amount of downloads. It targets a very old SDK, SDK9, and it woke up the device 372 times. It was the worst performer of our data set. It's a ridiculously high amount of times. And finally, Facebook app and Messenger, they didn't actually perform that bad, but they go a bit against the indications of Google, since Google is trying to move all the communications towards their Google Cloud Messaging, right, in which all the application traffic is multiplexed through a single channel. And in this way, basically, you end up saving energy. In the case of Facebook, both their applications are establishing 2 different channels. They are not sharing it. It's a MQTT protocol. They could basically just be keeping one tunnel, and they wake up the device 47 times when they could just cut this value by half. So finally, how could we potentially improve this alarm usage? Is it that we require better developer knowledge? Well, Google already provides quite good documentation. They have the Google developer conferences, the Google I/O conferences, but they still allow for this API fragmentation to exist, and according to our study, it actually shows that they are being quite conservative regarding this backward compatibility. Potentially, we could make all the alarms inexact, but it's still an open question if it might actually break some applications. Targeting a newer SDK could potentially improve the battery of mobile devices like KitKat. This could be done, for example, using Expose to repurpose the APIs that are called to make use of inexact alarms. And finally, in iOS, there is no real analogous to the alarm APIs. They are way more strict over what you can actually run in background. So this again raises the question if alarms are actually needed, right? So summary, 50% of the applications define alarms. From these 50%, 40% of them have exact alarms. Alarms and API fragmentation can greatly affect energy efficiency. Most alarms use APIs that are outdated by more than 18 months, and alarms are present in all categories. They define a ridiculous amount of alarm definitions. You can have up to 70. At least 10% of these alarms are defined in third-party libraries, and these alarms can wake up the device very often, just because of the use of the wrong SDK targets. So thank you for your time. If you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Questions? Come on. He was scrolling like 23,000 apps. You gotta have a question, right? Which one? Okay.
I don't know.
You don't need it?
Did you look at what these alarms were actually doing? Did you try to look at the benefit and see what they're doing?
The problem with Android applications is that they are often obfuscated. So actually understanding, well, in some cases, like the Facebook case, we were actually able to look at it and recognize that they are just maintaining their tunnel and it's an MQTT protocol. But for most of them, actually extracting a semantic value of what the classes are doing or what the methods are doing, it's not that trivial. We could do it. We actually tried like some sort of propagation of semantic for each one of the classes. Like these classes are network classes, these classes are doing some kind of location or something like this, but it's complicated. Sorry?
For things like networking activities, controlling fail. But these alarms, like Facebook.
What do you mean they would fail?
Well, I mean, for some alarms, I guess you can infer what it's trying to do.
Yeah. In the case, you could, if you go and pick the applications, each one of them at a time, you might understand. Large scale, it's a bit more complicated, right? But yes, I would say so.
So I have a question unless you have one. So you say that this is impacting energy. Did you actually quantify that? Do you have an idea of how all these things is actually reflecting on the battery consumption or something like that?
So the thing is that the actual study of energy is something that has been addressed in lots of previous research. So that's why we didn't check it here. But you have both in analyzing the data of the energy consumption of data. You actually, regarding alarms, there's a paper that actually does something related, but they look only at 10 applications. They don't really look
what
at.
What I meant is, this is what it is. What if they were actually implementing alarms in the right way? Is there a way of estimating the benefits that you would have by that? They do that.
Yeah, so there is a paper with 10 applications that actually shows this, and I'm not sure what was the number, but it was. And even if you look at projects DOS and Volta from Google, I think for those at least they said something like 50% longer battery. So I'm not sure, you have to check it, but if you check project Volta and those, they actually have a big impact on energy consumption.
We still have time for a 3-4 question, if you guys not too shy. I know Andrea has one. All right, so we're going to thank Mario. Thank you.
Thank you.